wondering, from my personal experience, when I was in primary school, it's to do with like immigration and stuff and how it affects different areas in Haringey. In my primary school, in my class, just give the Polish immigration, for example. When I was in reception, there were 2 Polish children in my class, and then when I was in year 2, there were 8 or 9, and I was just wondering how you're going to deal with this, how it's not bad, but just how the stability of a class, how people coming and leaving quite frequently, and how it just alters different people's like educational stability, like in Muswell Hill. I was discussing it with my friends sometimes in their primary schools. There were quite stability, people would not very regularly leave. But in my school, it was happening all the time, so I was just wondering how you were going to spread that out across the borough. I was at Crowland Primary School.
Okay, I mean, you're right, it's not an entirely new issue, but it's something I think that's been increasing as, for centuries. People have moved around the world, and for hundreds of years people have come to this country and come to London. So at the moment we've had people coming from Eastern Europe, Polish people, but people from other parts of Eastern Europe. At other times we've had people coming from Somalia, from Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, all kinds of places. So there will be, in any school, people who are moving in. There'll also be people who were born and bred in London but have moved. One of the things I always find incredibly impressive is how quickly young people who've turned up to something that's completely strange to them, with a language that they don't know, within a couple of years can have got to a stage where they are fluent in English, passing exams, and fully on top of what's going on. So I think young people's resilience and capacity is absolutely phenomenal. But you're right, it does create difficulties. It creates difficulties firstly for those young people, because every time you move school you have to make new friends, you have to settle in, the class will be at a different stage, might even have different teaching methods. And there's a particular problem at the moment. You're probably aware that the government is changing the rules around benefits. What that's doing is forcing a number of families to have to move because they can no longer pay the rent where they are. And that's something we're quite worried about in Tottenham. It's going to be less of a factor in the west of the borough, because in general you need more money to be able to live there anyway. It is much more of an issue in this part of the borough, because people from other parts of London are likely to come here because rents are cheaper. So it is the case that schools like Crowland, Mulberry, some of the other schools you've probably heard of, there is a very, very high turnover of pupils. Maybe a quarter, maybe a third of pupils, which also creates difficulties for schools, because the money that schools get is according to the number of children they have at the school. And it's counted on a particular day in January. So if on a particular day in January you count the children and then a week later a whole number of new ones arrive, the school hasn't got the money for those children. So I think, what I am impressed by is how well schools manage that. We can't stop it, and in a sense what schools do is just turn it into something positive. Here are young people who've come from somewhere else, they've got things that they can bring, that they can tell, that they can show, that are different to what we're used to. That's something really positive. So what schools are good at is turning it into something positive. And I hope that for you as a pupil it wasn't disruptive to have that. I suppose it's if you think about it, it's a little bit like children whose parents are in the armed forces. They're forever moving around. It's the nature of the job, and it's hard for them. What's important, I suppose, I would say to you is, if you have someone who's new to your class, befriend them, because for them it's a really difficult time to come into a new school, and what they really need is young people around them who are going to support them and make them feel at home.
Does that answer your question?
Kind of.
Okay. Is there anything lingering? Is there anything you want to probe a little more?
Maybe just later.
Okay, later. Okay, thank you very much. All right. Well, we'll come back to my promise. We'll just come here.
I'm Zach Coleman, I'm from Porter's Map, and I was just going to say that obviously since the riots there's been a renewed focus on the youth in areas like this, and we noticed just on the way over here actually that there are a very high number of fast food, unhealthy food shops, and I'd just like to ask, how can you say that you really care about the youth of today when the leases are people are being allowed to set up so many food shops and so many just gatherings of students from schools outside them? And there's obviously been a lot of scientific research on how it stops brain development and concentration, and obviously in an area like this you want to break cycles of gangs and knife crime, but if people aren't feeling inspired or motivated in schools, then that is a very big factor in my opinion.
Well, I couldn't agree more. If I could close down burger bars, Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, betting shops, I would go out there and I would close them down. And I get absolutely sick when I pass by and I see crowds of young people, and I see young people come out of Parkview and go straight into the various burger bars and chicken shops around the corner, and I see young people from John Loughborough doing the same thing with the ones on the high street here. The difficulty is, as a local authority, we are bound by planning and licensing laws, and under those laws it is incredibly difficult to either close those places down or stop them starting up. Just yesterday I got the news that there's a place, it's not in my ward, it's in an adjoining ward just off Broad Lane, wants to turn a shop into a fast food outlet. So I immediately put in an objection to the replanning application. I don't think it's going to make any difference, because I think under the law that person is going to be able to do that. And that is the difficulty. We as a council have been lobbying central government to get them to change the law so we can stop fast food outlets. And we've been, and other councils are doing this as well, have been trying to sort of experiment, just testing the law a little bit. The betting shops is the other thing that really gets up my nose. I bet you haven't got hundreds of betting shops in Muswell Hill. They've set up in poor areas to take money away from people who haven't got it. But I think what's important though is you clearly have a really good understanding of why it is that fast food places are bad for you. Now, if young people understood that and acted on it and didn't go in and buy stuff, then those places would have to close down. So I'll throw this back at you and say, you help us close down these fast food outlets by don't go in there and don't buy their rubbish, because it doesn't do you any good.
Just before you hand it over, I did hear someone shout from the back that, but it's cheap, they said. So that now becomes a challenge. How do we deal with that challenge? Because like you said, it's not healthy, it's not good for them. It has an overall impact on their well-being. But when people have £2 in their pocket, sometimes that's the place they go. So how do young people, how do you suggest they deal with this?
Okay, I mean, that is a problem in terms of the cost and money that's available. What I would say is there's a free school meals scheme. If you are eligible, if your parents are eligible for free school meals, it is really important that you apply and take up those free school meals. Not least because the school that you go to gets quite a large sum of additional money for every child that is claiming a free school meal. Makes a huge difference to schools' finances. A school like Bladesmoor, for example, probably gets another £750,000 a year on the basis of the number of pupils claiming free school meals. So that's a big bonus for your school, but it does also mean that you can eat a healthy meal. Now, if you don't like what's provided in your school canteen, then go through your school council and lobby and get the menus changed. So that's one possibility. I think the other would be to sort of sit down and with your parents or whoever buys the food in your house and list different foods and what they cost and see whether in fact you can put together decent meals that don't involve kind of cheap fried food and so on. And I think, you know, it might take a bit longer to prepare stuff, it might need a bit more thought, but I think you can put together filling meals that are, you can eat potatoes that are not fried, for example, and that's much healthier for you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I think, you know, I agree with Donna, it's about supply and demand. There are so many young people who want this chicken that there are so many shops that are, you know, sprouting up because that's what's needed, or that's what's wanted, really, isn't it? I was going to mention a couple of the projects that we're doing because actually our ethos is to teach young people about their health, about food, what it's made of. You know, how nutritious it can be, where the nutrients come from, where the vitamins are, all that kind of thing. And I noticed that this is done in partnership with Highway Church, a Highway Youth Club, which is running at the moment in Brisbane. And they run a youth cafe for young people. And that is getting young people to not only eat healthy food, but to be involved in the process of making it. They go out, they shop, they buy the ingredients, they look at what they've got and they look at how they can put that together into a healthy, nutritious meal. And being part of the process of making that food makes it more inviting. You put your efforts into making it, makes it more tasty. And then it's subsidised for the rest of the youth club, so young people can go in there and rather than buy a chicken shop, which is right outside, and they can get their chips and chicken for £1, they can get they can get a nice curry or a shepherd's pie or something that's been homemade by the young people for 50p instead. So we are small little projects like that are kind of building the pathway to kind of healthier lifestyles for young people. In the back of Brisgrove as well, we're also starting an allotment. So actually, not only are people cooking the food, but they're growing it as well. We've got tomatoes, potatoes, lettuces, all these kind of different things. And not only that, but herbs. So you can understand how you can season food and make it more tasty.
I just want to add, I mean, I've been on the borough 2 months, and if we talk around the Bruce Grove area, there's some fantastic different cultural cuisines and shops in there that don't cost any much more than a, you know, I don't know, Captain Henry's fried chicken or whatever it is that you've got on there. And then it's just, I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a you know, a couple of Turkish cafes up the road there. You can get a Turkish pizza which has got, you know, more salad in there. You can wave a stick at. £1.50. You know, so and you're quite astute in the sense of if you have to go out and you want to buy, you want to go to a fast food joint, break the mold. Don't go to a McDonald's. You know, don't go into the traditional fast food store. You're blessed here with a huge variety of different types of healthy food you can go into. Just, you know, have a go, have a try at some of the other delicious fast food places you can go into at a much cheaper price. So, you know, you can do that, and then you can send a message to those shops that sell really unhealthy fried stuff that, you know, doesn't do you any good. You can send them a message and actually say, change the way you actually produce your food, otherwise I'm going to keep going next door.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. My name is Trace and I'm from Parkview, yeah, just to let you know. When you were saying about the healthy food and stuff, well basically, it's easier, say you've got £2 for each day in school, it's easier to get chicken and chips. So say, for example, a burger, a portion of chips and 2 wings for £2, then that kind of strict diet in school with like a little piece of salad, kind of anorexic chicken, and a few chips that don't really taste nice. We've kind of complained, well not complained, but we've asked to change it in our school policy and stuff, but they said there's a health regime from the government that the school has to follow, so they can't really do anything about it. So I think the reason why we choose these unhealthy shops and these unhealthy options is because it's cheaper and you get more from it and it tastes nice.
I mean, there isn't a simple answer. But I think there's a way in which you're being quite kind of lazy, really, by saying, this food is bad for you, it's going to cause you health problems when you get older, it's making a number of young people fat and overweight, which means that they may well get diabetes and other dreadful conditions. So it's not without consequences eating rubbish food, even if it does taste nice. I'm not saying don't ever have fast food, but have it as a treat. Don't have it as a daily diet, because it is really bad for you. And the people who produce it don't really care. You might also want to think about what conditions the chickens are raised in, because they're not going to be free range, they're not running around farms, they're stuck in kind of tiny little cages where they can barely move around. Now, if you're happy to go ahead on that basis, then that's a choice that you make. But what I'm saying is I think with a bit of effort, there are other choices you can be making.
Thank you very much. Okay, just before I'll quickly close this, and I'll close it this way. We're young, and I do honestly believe, and this is DJ speaking, okay? Right? I really do honestly believe that we're not too young to begin to learn responsibility. When you eat something, it goes into your body. It either hurts you or it helps you. That's the reality. Whatever you're putting into your body is going to do something to your body. That's the reality. It's your body. You need to take care of it. It's your responsibility. Yes, the money is yours. You can spend it on what you want. But ultimately, by putting that thing in your body, you're either hurting it or helping it. It may not show up right now, but it will show up at some point. So the bottom line is, it's your choice. It's your money, but it's also your body. So it's your decision, but we need to learn responsibility. I'll just end it that way, okay?